Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wide Open with Ashlyn Harris. Today, we are speaking with our favorite Olympian, B-Girl, and first American woman to ever qualify for breaking in Olympic history, Sunny Choi. Welcome to Wide Open.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. I know we met, was it? I think it was the year before the Paris Olympics in Cannes
I
at
think
the
so. Yeah.
NBC pop up, and
hmm
I was with Sue Bird, and you were breaking on stage, and it was just one of the coolest activations I think NBC has ever done, because usually, no offense, it's so vanilla. And the music, like, we were vibing. Sue and I were like, okay, this is so freaking cool. And gosh, what a whirlwind it's been.
hmm
Really has clearly changed your life quite a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like breaking in the Olympics was such a huge buzz at the time, both good
hmm
and bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I'm curious because I want to dive in, and obviously it's so good to see you again, and I'm so excited to catch up and the listeners to hear what you're doing and where you're going now that the Olympics, unfortunately, breaking has been removed from the Olympics in
hmm
LA, which we'll really
Yeah.
dive into because that makes me so unbelievably sad for you. But there's so much positivity we can roll into. But first, I really want to start with like your origin story from the beginning, because you do have such a rich story of who you were before all of this, fame and press tours and people wanting you probably to break dance on the side of the road everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, please tell me and tell the listeners, what it was like growing up as a young girl in Tennessee and Kentucky. I'm like,
Yep. Yep.
hello. Please, yeah, elaborate, because like I am dying to know what that was like.
Yeah. So I was born in Tennessee, but we moved to Kentucky when I was like 7. So, I don't remember much of Tennessee other than like it was a really small town and my school was like literally in my backyard, like through a grove of trees.
Mm.
This is the kind of like town that we lived in at the time. Um, So I actually, though, while I was in Tennessee, when I was 3, I watched the 92 Olympic Games. And apparently I was like hooked onto gymnastics. And I begged my mom for a month to put me in because I wanted to win a gold medal at the Olympics. And so she put me into gymnastics at a really young age. And, she had no idea what she was doing. So she sent me to my first class in a tutu, thinking
Oh my
like,
God.
this is like dance, right? So I'm in this Little Mermaid tutu, probably the only Asian girl there, showing up like, am I going to get a gold medal today? My mom was like, I don't know about today.
Uh, you were
um,
hungry at the beginning. You were like, let's
yeah,
go.
so that's where it all started. I used to draw pictures with the Olympic rings in the corner. Like, this was always a childhood dream of mine. When we moved to Kentucky, we ended up kind of like accelerating my gymnastics, doing this like back then it was called like TOP or the TOPS program, I think.
Hmm.
So I was like traveling, doing like strength testing and skills testing, going to these like national camps. So we were basically like on the road potentially to be a like candidate, right, for the Olympics.
Wow. Wow.
We decided pretty young though. So I would say like right out of elementary school going to middle school, we had this conversation of like, well, are we ready to pull her out of school and homeschool and actually go this like Olympic track? Or are we going to go kind of like the regular route? And we
Wow.
decided then like, actually, we're going to go the regular route. At that time, societal expectations had set in and my pictures were no longer Olympic rings, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to go to
Mm.
Stanford pre-med. And like, so we ended up foregoing the Olympic pathway, knowing, like chances are low. Back then, as an Olympic athlete, like there wasn't much beyond the Olympics.
Mm.
So it was like, what is there after that for me, for my life?
Mm.
So we ended up kind of going the more traditional, like went to good middle school, went to a good high school, graduated. I got into Penn, and I went to business school because I figured At that time, honestly, I didn't like anything. And I was like, well, my brother went to business school. I know I can make money with this. The coach at Penn wants me to do gymnastics there, so that makes it really easy.
Mm.
Win-win. I'll get in and I'll transfer out of business school if I really hate it. So I get to college and I still don't know what I want to do, but I'm in like, at the time, like one of the best business programs in the US. And I'm just
Wow.
like, just checking the boxes, like doing the things that I
Yep.
knew I needed to do to be successful in life,
Mm.
get
Mm-hmm.
get a good job, make money, have a family, buy a home, just do all the things that like the world expected me to do. So I
Yeah.
was just on that path, just chugging along.
Yep.
Um, so I actually blew out my knee in high school before I get to college. So I'm backtracking a
Oh.
little bit. And I ended up having surgery and then hurting it again when I got back
Wow.
into the sport and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I ended up having to quit gymnastics before I get to college. So I was pretty lost at that time. I had hit some pretty low lows mentally, and I think just
Mm-hmm.
a combination of like burnout, being really lost, not knowing how to talk about my emotions, like all of
Yeah.
that, like really bubbled up. So junior, senior year were pretty hard, and then I get to college, and I'm just like out there doing what freshmen do,
Oh,
maybe a little
yeah.
extreme, maybe
Unleash the
almost every
beast.
night.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like just exploring and trying to figure out what it is that I want to be doing with my life. Or actually, at that point I don't think I was trying to figure it out. At that point I was just trying to run
Yeah.
away. And I stumble into some breakers one night. They're just dancing on campus and they're basically promoting, the school club.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like they're upside down. Like that looks like fun. I kind of missed this. And so, late night, I'm not sober. They're like, hey, you want to come to a class on Friday? I was like, sure.
Sure.
So
I
I
love
went, I
this.
tried it, and I was like, oh, this is fun. So, while I'm in college, I'm breaking on the side, starting to kind of figure out this world and like what my space is in it and how to express myself and how to like take down all those barriers that I had set up, to like live this perfect life and just be vulnerable while I'm dancing. So,
Mm.
doing all that. Meanwhile, the rest of my life is unfolding. So I graduate, start working in corporate, do that for quite a bit, just kind of climb that ladder and do what I need to do to make more money and get, higher up
Mm-hmm.
on the ladder so that checking all the boxes.
Correct.
Um,
Falling in line with
yeah.
what society tells us women to do. Correct.
And at the same time, still breaking on the side, getting better at breaking, starting to travel internationally, starting to make some money off of it, and just like kind of explore what's there for me, but never seeing it as a viable option for me in terms of like my
Mm.
career.
Mm.
Just because, dance is hard already, breaking even harder because it's more underground than most dance styles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm just chugging along, but to be honest, like I'm miserable every single day.
Yeah.
Showing up to work
Yeah.
and doing a great job. No one can tell from the outside because I'm always smiling.
Mm.
But like deep down, I had no purpose. Some days it was hard to get out of bed. Like just it was kind of
Mm.
tough. So when the Olympic opportunity presented itself, initially, actually, I said no because I want to have kids potentially, and I want to have a house, and like I'm saving money, and I'm getting to a
Mm.
point in the next like few years where I feel ready to like look for a home and to buy in New York. I was on the track to that life that I had drawn up for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Olympics just put a huge wrench in all that. So initially, I
Mm.
said, I don't think I want to do this. It took me about 6 months to come around and actually decide, like, okay, I can't give up on myself again. Like I had
Yeah.
this dream as a kid. I have this opportunity now to get out of this life that I don't like and start a brand new one. And in like such a radically
Mm.
cool way at that. So like why not? And so
Yeah.
that's, it wasn't until I think the beginning or like mid 2022 is when I decided like, all right, I'm gonna quit my job in the near future, save up until then, but I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this full time and then I'll figure it out after, but I'm never coming back to corporate.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was like such a long diatribe. I didn't realize I was going to
I
take that, but
No, it's great. It's great. You have such a rich history of your life experiences, and I don't want to skip over too much. And I really would like to dive into it because there's so much there that is so helpful for younger, kids growing up who feel the isolation, maybe the racism, maybe the otherness of being
Mhm.
Korean American in a very small Kentucky town.
Yeah, I mean, I love this question. So I've thought about kind of like representation and my like being Asian a lot in this journey. Actually, not a lot. Initially, I didn't think about it at all. I
Oh,
basically
wow.
like hid it and tried to pretend it didn't exist for so long. And it wasn't until outlets were asking me about what it's like being Asian, what does representation mean to me, that I
Mm.
realized that I've been running away from that question too for a long time. I think I was embarrassed of being Asian. I got made fun of and I would brush it off as a kid. Like, I didn't realize that it was like technically bullying when people would make fun of me for being Asian and my eyes and say things like ching ching, whatever, in the hallways to
Yeah.
me. I was just like, that's not even Korean. Why would you do that? That's so silly. My practical self was never like, luckily, emotionally particularly damaged. But I think
Mm.
effect of just knowing like I wasn't like everyone else was
Mhm.
always there and present. And so I feel like I always tried to fit in. And I think that's part of the narrative of why I wanted to do everything the way that like the world expected me to do things. So I think a
Mm.
lot of that came from me wanting to fit in, me wanting to
Mhm.
be like everyone else because I growing up never felt that way. I always
Mm.
knew there was something different.
Yeah.
Like even with my like so I actually spoke Korean first before I spoke English. And my
Oh,
mom
yeah.
thought when I went to school that I didn't speak English. And she was really concerned when I went off to kindergarten that I was gonna like be treated differently because she was concerned I didn't
Mm.
speak enough English. Well, it turns out I come home after my first day of school and said, Mom, I'm never speaking Korean again. I'm only gonna speak English. And she was so relieved that I spoke
Oh,
English that she
wow.
never pushed it. So now I no longer speak my native language.
Yeah.
Uh, I can understand a little bit. I can speak very basic Korean, but all English because I was just so focused on fitting in.
Wow.
Growing up, I didn't know I was different until I got to school and
Mm.
realized, oh, I'm very different.
Yeah. And do you feel like that added more pressure to your burnout, which we'll talk more about because I think we're all experiencing, we're in a real serious mental health crisis. And I'm curious, having immigrant, parents, there's a whole different type of pressure that comes with that of, they've sacrificed so much for me to be here. I've got to really be successful. Like,
Yeah.
is gymnastics really the path forward? Are they going to dedicate their life to my craft at such an early age? Are you thinking in real time like, wow, the weight I have on my back is so enormous that it's unbearable to carry anymore?
When I was young, I didn't realize that is what it was. When I was
Mm.
young, it was just I feel like this is what I should do.
Mhm.
Like I wasn't able to comprehend really why I was doing what I was doing. It's just like it was just the right thing. It was
Mhm.
the only thing, right? I just
Mhm.
needed to make sure I was successful and I did things like the right way.
Mhm.
Um, so, I always got good grades, never questioned it. Um,
Mhm.
it was not a question to go to a good college. Like it wasn't even a question not to go to college. That's the only pathway forward. And then it was never a
Mhm.
question not to have some sort of like stable, well-paying job after that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I think the pressure was always there. I just never realized it. And I think some of that was because we didn't talk about emotions. And
Mm.
to no fault of my parent to no fault of yeah of my parents because they grew up in a very very different time, very different generation, and I'm so grateful for everything that they did. But like they even to this day, I think it's sometimes challenging to talk about emotions, and I'm much more open with like my mom now than I used to be.
Mhm.
So she's aware of like my depression and some of the lows that I go through, and she's aware of some of this stuff now, and she's understanding. But when I was younger, because I couldn't even begin to talk about it, I didn't have the words to express. I didn't know how to describe what was going on.
You were young. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sure
of course.
you didn't even have the words to what you were feeling, I can imagine.
Yeah. But to not have someone be able to even guide me
Mm.
so that I could start talking about them, I think that was challenging. And so I internalized everything instead. And then just it all kind of bubbled up and exploded. And it would just do that over and over and over and over again. And I just never understood why it was happening.
Yeah, and
Um,
I want to definitely hold space for that because your bravery and sharing it and being so open is so profound and beautiful all at the same time because it is such a scary thing to go through depression. How'd you get through it feeling so alone and unable to articulate, holy shit, like I am really depressed and I am really not well and I'm alone?
yeah, I think within my family circle, I didn't have people that I felt like I could talk to, right? And even
Mhm.
like my siblings, my brothers were out the house, and my little brother was younger than me, so he didn't quite
Mhm.
understand. Um, but I had friends who were going through similar. And I think it was that connection that was really, really helpful because there were a few friends that I was very open with and that
Mm.
knew what was going on, and we would talk about it. And I mean, I had friends who would stay up with me, like on Messenger back in the day,
Oh,
on A.
yes. Love it. What was your
So like,
handle? What was your handle first before we dive deep into this?
I don't remember. I wish I did. I feel like it was actually something pretty straightforward because I've always been really practical.
Mine was GK, the number 4 life, goalkeeper for life. So
I love that.
embarrassing.
I mean, there's no like XOXO Asian baby girl in there, so
Ah!
because that was what a lot of the girls are doing back then that were like
Oh
me.
my God. That is so funny. Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry. Anyways, continue.
I mean, no judgment to people who did that though.
No, no, no,
I
no,
like
no.
to each their own, but I was just not that girl. But yeah, we would stay up to like sometimes like 3 or 4 in the morning talking because I was basically like an insomniac. Like I couldn't sleep. And
Mm.
despite being extremely exhausted, I couldn't sleep. I mean, the problem then was like I was sometimes falling asleep at the wheel and I would fall asleep in class and
Oh
all sorts
my
of things.
God.
It was really
Yeah.
dangerous. Yeah, there was a lot of like dangerous stuff happening back then. And looking back, I'm really grateful that I came out of that all unscathed because those
Mm.
are pretty rough years for me. But yeah, I
I can
had a couple of
imagine.
close friends that I would share with, and they were going through very similar.
Mm.
I remember one specifically, he was Asian, so I think we felt kind of a similar type of pressure,
Mm.
from our families and, just from society in general, so we would talk about these things and, um, we talk about like, literally everything, but I think that that connection is really what kept me going because it's like, even if I'm not able to talk with my family, like, there are people there who do care,
Mm.
um so that was always helpful, and, like, going to school, it's like I had a lot of friends there and, it was always nice to see them, and I knew that they
Mm.
appreciated me even if they didn't know what was going on. I mean, like,
Mm.
people used to make jokes in high school like, "Oh, I pulled a Sunny," which means, like, I didn't sleep last night, and
Oh,
it was this
wow.
thing where, like, we all, because none of us understood what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening, and I was always super bubbly and happy on the outside, so everyone thought, like, "Oh, she's great," like, it's just a thing she does, and I always got, straight A's anyway, so, yeah, looking back now, I'm like, "Man, that was a little toxic," but,
Yeah, but
it was
truthfully, what I've learned, because I'm a huge advocate in the mental health space, like I think the people who struggle the most are the ones who are so outwardly bubbly and happy because
yeah,
they have mastered the art of that hidden identity of darkness that
mhm,
they are not comfortable enough to share. Like the most electric people in my life are some of the most sad, depressed people, and I was one of them. So I don't think that that's a weird statement to make. I think
mhm.
you end up having to master the darkness by hiding it. And I know it was really hard going to college until you found breaking. Do you feel like when you finally found breaking, it felt like you found oxygen again?
Initially, no. I
Mm,
think initially it was like it was fun, it was something new, it was something challenging, and it was something that there was a piece of me that always knew that I wanted to pursue some sort of creative outlet. So even in
mm,
high school, I did like a fashion design course, and I ended up making my own prom dress. And I was
Wow.
just like literally notebooks and notebooks of like just drawings. I loved it. Didn't pursue that. Then I get to college, and I actually ended up getting a minor in fine arts, and
Wow.
even considered doing an MFA because I really enjoyed that. But I was like, there's no, it's such a hard life. And here I am checking the boxes, and that's not a box I need to check. So we're going to forego that. So I always knew there was a piece of me looking to express myself in a different way. Um,
Mm,
Breaking was that plus the piece of gymnastics that I loved, which is that like weightlessness, the like losing yourself
mm,
and just relying on your body to do what it does. So initially there was like I was drawn to it because of the challenges, and actually it used to frustrate the hell out of me that I couldn't get in front of people and dance. I used to just sit in the corner of the room every day while everyone else practiced, and like literally in like a little ball in the corner of the room and just watch because I was so scared
wow.
to do anything. And it was like that for a while. But I knew that this was something that I wanted to get over. I knew it was an
Mm,
obstacle that I didn't want to stop me from doing this thing that I really wanted to participate in.
mm-hmm,
And then there's something so like magnetic about watching people genuinely and authentically be themselves,
mm-hmm,
in any space. But I think with dance, because it's your body and there's this like shared language that transcends like actual verbal language, right? There's something so powerful about that I was like, I really want to participate in this. There's like a level of connection that like I've never really felt, and I want to see what that's like.
yeah, and it's so beautiful because it is storytelling through movement. It is the most purest form of art, and
Mhm.
it moves everyone in a
Yeah.
way that is so much bigger than words. And it's so universal. And I think that is the beauty. And that
Mhm.
is the gift that you continue to give to the world. And I don't know if you ever do you see it that way? Do you think about that?
I don't think of it as being like, I guess I never think about it that way, but in terms of like it being something that transcends language, that's like so basic and primal. Like babies do like dance a little bit before they can even talk,
Mhm.
Like this is just what we do as humans. So um yeah, I mean it's absolutely what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um
And I'm curious the fact that you said you used to sit in the corner and you were like so terrified to be open to your performances and your dance, and I assume you were a very shy smart kid. But did you like I because the gravity of competing at the Olympics is so massive. Like I
yeah.
know it took a while to decide, but once you did, you're representing not only yourself, but your family, your culture, like on the biggest global stage like out there. What was that like? What was it like when you stepped on to that dance floor for the first time? Like what bring the audience through what is going through your head.
Uh so for those of you watching video, you're gonna see I'm already tearing up. Every time I think about that day, I am filled with so much like, but it's like good emotion, like
Mhm.
really positive emotion, because it was one of the days of my life where I was most fulfilled. And it's not
Mm,
because I was on the Olympic stage. There's a lot more to it. Like this could have happened elsewhere. It happened to happen at the Olympics for me.
mhm,
Um, but basically, my entire breaking career, I've told myself I want to be able to move freely. Like, I want to get out of my own way. I want to turn off my brain, zone in, and just be me, like as authentically
mm,
me as possible. No guards up, no, like, no mask, no nothing, And I had been working on that my whole life. But every time I would get down to battle, the little voice in my head would be like, oh, not good enough. That was not right, or like,
mm,
oh, we messed up there. Hey, like, what are you doing? You're definitely taking too long. Get off the floor. You're not good enough to be here. Like, whatever it was, that little voice was always talking. And so that voice was always so loud that I never felt like I was able to be present.
mm,
And they're all there as I got better at breaking, that voice got quieter. And it got a little bit more sparse. So it would be maybe like after the round, that voice would be like, hey, that wasn't very good. Like, I don't know why you did that one thing. And then we kind of didn't hit this, whatever. But in the moment, there were moments where I've been able to lock in. But
Good. Yeah.
I never as a breaker said like I wanted to win this big battle, or I never even wanted to like necessarily travel internationally and get known. Like it was all about just exploring and being able to be me.
Mm,
And I think that's what made the Olympic moment so special because the lead up to the games was rough. I had to face a lot of my like inner struggles and I had to get over those because I wanted to show up for myself that day.
mm,
Um, and I think being able to show up there, having so many people that I love and care for be there to support me wholeheartedly. I have this picture of like my entire family decked out in Team USA gear, some of them with like handwritten like Team Sunny on their t-shirt because they didn't have
hmm.
time or they weren't able to get their like t-shirts made in time, whatever. All my nieces there to support, like
Wow.
everybody to have that level of support. Everyone's there in Paris. Like I'm lucky that everyone was able to get tickets and show up and afford to be there. To build a team around me of people who cared about
Mm,
me. My like agent at that time, my strength coach, my massage therapist, my boyfriend, just like everybody there to support me and knowing that they all didn't care how I did. They were just there to
mm,
support, you know? Um, having all of that there and then being able to step on the stage and for the first time be like, I don't care about how I do today. I just want to go have fun. And to like really truly feel that way was so special. Because it's like literally the first time in my life where I was like, nothing else matters. I get to be me and I get to
hmm.
be celebrated for being me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
I,
it
I
really was
think,
one of those amazing experiences.
and I appreciate you being so vulnerable because what I think the rawness and realness of you sharing, I think people have no idea the pressures that we as athletes go through to perform at the highest stage when so much of our being and our self is telling us constantly we're not good enough.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I almost bypassed all of this and said, I don't want to do it because my superficial reason was because I wanted to have all these things in my life and the Olympics was going to get in the way. The real reason was because I didn't think that I could do it. I
Mm.
didn't want to put all my eggs in this basket in me. I didn't want to trust in myself. Because it's
Yeah, it's
so
betting
much
on
scarier.
yourself. Yep.
Yeah, it's so much scarier to do that than it is to just like go on this prescribed pathway.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I mean the so much of my journey and still today is about reminding myself that I'm enough. I actually often wear a
Mhm.
bracelet that says I'm enough
I
because
say
I
it
need
to
the
myself
reminder.
every day in the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm with you, sister. We are in that together every day in the mirror before my day starts. And I think
Mhm.
it's such a reminder for the audience out there who's struggling, like to literally not think it, but say it out loud to yourself. I am enough and I
Yeah.
belong and I am here. And whatever demons and battles like you face, saying the things out loud that is so simple, just I am enough in
Mhm.
this moment, whether good or bad, I am enough. And
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing that you just said. And, you know, living such the height of this Paris Olympics and breaking being, it's the first year. I'm curious when the news hit that break dancing was removed from the LA 2028, our home country. Like what I want your honest like reflection. Like I can imagine heartbreak and frustration and all the things in between. But what was like when did you find out? What was the moment? What did you feel? What was the first thing you did? Like walk us kind of through that.
So there were rumblings, and we were pretty sure that it wasn't going to be in LA included. We actually like officially got the news. We were at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. And so it was all of us that were trying to be on Team USA. At that point, I don't believe any of us had, maybe only a few of us had qualified or maybe not. I don't I don't remember. But we were sitting in a room and they officially, our team lead told us breaking wouldn't be included. and the room just went silent. We were all
Mm.
devastated, but it was this like, I feel like collective disappointment because
Mm-hmm.
breaking comes from communities that don't have a lot. And we knew at the end of the day, the reason why we weren't included in LA, one of the big reasons is because we didn't have money to give to the associations that were,
Mm.
organizing everything. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff does come down to money. We were lucky in France that France put breaking in despite us not having money, because France has such a rich culture of supporting the arts and supporting dance, so they were willing to
Mm.
do that. But when that happened, it was just like, it was disappointment, but also like kind of knew it was going to happen because this is what we do here in the States. We tend to put money over
Mm.
everything else.
Of
And
course.
we all knew that the breaking community doesn't have the money to give. We don't have the money to put up to get into another. And I'm not saying that like I personally don't know. I don't believe people like literally pay dollars to put it in, but it's in terms of like sponsorship and stuff, right? Like we just don't have money as a community to be doing that. But what was so disappointing is breaking is one of the most financially accessible sports in the Olympics, or at least was in Paris, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
all still dance in community centers. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people like practice in their garages and in other people's garages.
Mm-hmm.
We go to like dance spaces where I think the most I pay for practice is like $7.
Wow.
But you can find free spaces everywhere. Most people don't pay for lessons. Some do nowadays, especially in other countries, but in the States, I mean, it's still just like these big open spaces you go. And if you're eager to learn, you can walk up to someone and ask. You have a lot of parents of kids who come up and will ask the people around, like, hey, do you mind teaching my kid? Like this is
Mm.
it's such a community oriented, community based sport still. So that makes it so that like regular people can end up at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And to have that taken away and for the Olympics to end just, and I know there are nonprofit organizations that help people who have less means get
Mm-hmm.
into other sports, right? Like I know that but at its true, in its essence, breaking is that way already and hasn't turned into this like very money driven world yet.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's accessible also means that we have more diversity in our sport than we do in
Mm-hmm.
some of the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it was such a celebration of that when we were at the games. Because you even see in the
Mm.
dancers, and yeah, on the women's side, Asia like kind of dominated. So you do have a lot of Asian breakers out there that were like really good. But on the
Mm-hmm.
men's side, you saw so much diversity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Tons.
I mean, even on the women's side, there was some, right? At
Mm-hmm.
least like I feel like generally still a little bit more than in many of the other sports.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we're taking that away from the games. We're taking that one thing that was added that is accessible. And so that to me was really disappointing. And then that and the fact that like the games did bring more awareness into our world. It did bring some sponsorship, some money into our sport. And so you
Mm.
had some of the bigger brands coming in and sponsoring some of the like the circuits, the breaking circuits, the competitive circuits that we have. And so that was really nice because we were just able to do a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of getting the word out, getting people in, getting people excited, and then also paying money to the dancers that were there. The purse was a little bit
Mm-hmm.
bigger for these events. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we're going to these events and the price is like $200. And like that's
Wow.
what we're kind of used to. And then you have a couple here and there, like
Like,
throughout the
is it
year where
difficult to make a living, or is this you feel like, you have to work another job to provide for yourself while you're doing what you love?
you absolutely have to work another job. There's a few
Okay.
people who like maybe own a dance studio and they're able to, but I mean, we're talking just a handful in
Yeah.
the US. It is a little
Mhm.
different in other places where government sponsors dance and art a little more
Mm.
fully than they do in the States.
Okay.
But here it's so hard. I mean, even now I'm working as a strength and conditioning coach, as a personal trainer, because
Okay.
I want to set up a business that makes enough money so that I can open my own nonprofit dance center. But
Wow.
coming at the games, there was no way I was gonna be able to do that on my own. I didn't
No.
financially, I couldn't do it, and then the other thing is I don't feel comfortable. I mean, this is a bit of an aside, but I don't wanna take more from the community either. So I want this
Mm.
space to be very accessible, and in order to do that, it's grants, it's donations,
Yeah.
and there's just not a lot of that. It's hard, and
Well,
so
not a lot of that now with this political climate. Everything's being yanked. So yeah, I feel that in my bones. And I'm curious now, as a role model and leader in this space, how are you going to protect the art form? Because I think about these younger kids who see this, and I never would want them to think, well, I got to stop doing this because there's no future in it. So like, as someone
Yeah.
who's a trailblazer in this space, how are you reaching these young kids to keep this art form alive?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, right now, I'm really focused on just being able to get the means to set up a dance
Mhm.
center so that I can, because we don't have anything like that in New York City, which is
Mm,
insane because this is where it started. We have a couple dance studios, but no like larger nonprofit dedicated to what we do. Um,
mm,
so that's kind of what I want to get started. So people traveling can come and learn and share and be part of the community and stuff like that. But I do think it's on us as a whole, as a collective, to start creating opportunities because it's been shown that we can't just wait for someone to come in and give it to us, right?
mhm,
And I mean, like we knew better already, but I think so many of us were hoping that the Olympic pathway might be something that was a bit more sustainable. Had it been included in LA, I think there would probably be sponsors who would stick around, because there was so much excitement at the games. And I think
mm,
that a lot of that would have continued because it was a really like high energy, super fun event at the games that is so different from a lot of the other Olympic sports. That and you have these like cool young people who dress cool, who have like all this
mhm,
swag. So it's like there's so much about it that's like really great for to brands to get behind.
mm,
But anyways, that's gone.
yeah,
If you have come in and if you're still giving a little money, but it's really about us creating those circuits to build those partnerships ourselves. Like I have some
mm,
connections down the road. I'd like to use them to potentially fund some breaking circuits and some youth development
absolutely.
programs and things like that so that we can give back in a different way. But yeah, I really think it is on us to create what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this next chapter of your life, not just an athlete, not just a breaker, like, what do you see for yourself as Sunny? Like, what do you feel like is next?
I mean, to be honest, what I've found is, and I've always been this way, and I think some of it initially was me running away from helping myself, is I've always helped others. And I think a little
Mm,
bit of that was because I didn't believe I was worthy of it.
mhm.
So you're helping everyone else around you because that like makes you more worthy, right?
Yeah.
Well, so some of this journey obviously is still working on me feeling like I'm enough and reminding myself that I
Mhm.
am enough and I am worthy and I do deserve to be happy. And that's kind of some of my like daily work. And it gets better most days. Some days you
Mhm.
don't have great days, and that's okay. But what I found is I really truly love working with other people and being part of their journey to whatever it is that they're looking for, whether it's happiness, whether it's a more fit body, whether it's sports and competition. I just love being there on that journey with other people and helping them. So, the whole like strength coach thing initially, I knew I wanted to do it early on as I was training for the games. I didn't realize how fulfilling it would be and
Mm,
how much I really love not just working with adults, but also kids. I love
yes.
teaching kids to dance, all of this. So I just want to be in other people's lives supporting, being that like cheerleader in the back, like you got this,
Yeah,
during your highs and lows. And so that's kind of where I see the rest of my life is just being that person for other people and then for
that's
myself as well.
beautiful. We need more
Um,
people like you in this world for sure. And
Oh,
and
thank
I
you.
tell you what, some of the most influential people in my life have always been my mentors and coaches as a kid. Like, they
Mhm.
single-handedly had the biggest impact in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly, and I don't take it lightly. And I think that's why you and I leverage our platforms to speak up for the right things, to really help this younger generation. Like, there's just so many avenues, and we have to keep talking about it and reiterating the importance of leaning in when we're struggling or feeling alone or feeling overwhelmed, and having the right access to cope with it healthy? Because I know you and I have not coped with it healthy at all times. And
Nope.
And with that, I think this is the most important question I'll ask you. And I ask every single person on this show, what moment in your life really split you wide open? That changed everything? That really was the aha, this is it. And I got to listen and I'm going to make these changes, whether sport or life or something in between. What was that moment for you?
To be honest, there's been a couple moments in my life where things have happened and I've just taken an abrupt turn in my life. And I'm going to talk about two, if that's okay.
Yes,
So
please.
first one was kind of in those dark years in high school. I remember driving. It was really late at night and I was driving from somebody's place. And I actually started hallucinating as I was driving. And I think it's because I was so exhausted. So I was completely sober, just driving, just tired. And I was seeing things on the road that weren't on the road, coming to like a complete stop in the middle of the highway. And I remember that was the day when I was young. That was the day that I was like, something is wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but I need help. You know, at that time I didn't seek help because I didn't know what help even looked like, but I knew I needed something in my life, you know? So that's kind of the beginning of when I started digging a little bit, trying with the tools that I had then to take care of myself, you know, to do something about it. And albeit some of the decisions I made were not the smartest now in hindsight, but, you know, I was doing what I could. And I mean, one of the little things was just like trying to sleep a little bit more, even though I had no desire to sleep most nights. Just trying to get myself in bed and go to bed, you know, taking naps when I could, just doing like the little minimal things. But that was really the beginning of my like, oh, I need to get my mental health in check. And that happened, I guess I was driving, so like 16, maybe 17. And then it was, you know, so many years of trying to figure out what was going on until, you know, I really kind of got a better handle on it. And then the second really, really big was the Olympic journey, was the announcement of breaking. It wasn't the actual Olympics. It was the realization that I had been standing in my own way my entire life. And I was so scared of failing, so scared of letting myself down that I had taken the safe route. And I was just constantly prioritizing myself second so that I could do whatever else that the world expected me to do. That realization was like really crushed me when I realized that like I'm the reason why I don't dream. I'm the reason why I don't have big goals. I'm the reason why I never did anything I ever really wanted to do in life. It was hard, but getting over that and saying, you know what, this is the first really big dream that I'm actually going to go for is the Olympics. You know, I thought it was going to happen when I was like, 16? Now here I am like almost 36 and doing it, but like it's never too late.
Yes.
I'm gonna bet on myself, and no matter how painful it is, like we're gonna go through this process. And I think that was another humongous Kickstarter for growth because it really made me face my fears and face all those walls that I had put up my entire life and break them down one by one so that I could show up in the games and have that, you know, that best moment of my life thing.
It's incredible.
So, yeah.
Well, Sunny, thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing your gift to all of us with such grace and power. And thanks for coming on to Wide Open. And it has been an absolute pleasure to watch you, to follow you. And I wish nothing but the best for you in opening this safe space for not only yourself, but, you know, for this younger generation wanting to be just like you. So thank you for coming on Wide Open.
Thank you so much for having me. This was lovely. Really appreciate you.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week on another episode of Wide Open with Ashlyn Harris.